Are you tired of looking like this after a night on Prizepicks? For the price of that Big Mac combo you chowed down on this week, get access to hundreds of picks. Connect your Discord to WAP with the link in the description and be added straight to the premium Discord. We'll be sending every single Prizepicks slip we place.
Let's get some Prizepicks in today, guys. I have some NBA, and I'll just go over NFL very briefly here. I'm not going to be taking anything for this video, but just some recommendations because Geno Smith's not even on the board yet. We're not even sure if he's going to fully play. But for this Philly game, I always recommend taking unders on the players in the NFL because Prizepicks basically always puts them too high. This line should be set up to 40.5, for example. It's set at 241.5. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but in the long run, you want to be taking every advantage you could get. And same with AJ Brown. Of course, you want to be pairing QBs with wide receivers. So I'll take AJ Brown on the under with Jalen Hurts. And just to show you guys, AJ Brown on Sportsbooks set at 78.5, so we're getting 4 yards extra. I don't know if you guys played NFL this weekend, but if you do and you've been playing for the past weeks, it's a lot of times that you lose by 1, 2, 3 yards. So 4 yards is a massive advantage. So that's just my recommendation for NFL. More often than not, the props on Prizepicks will be a bit too high in terms of passing yards and receiving yards. I know they know people like to be taking overs all the time, so they kind of put that higher to protect themselves. So the under is the correct play if you're going for that. So that's just some NFL, but we're getting into NBA. I have some. So for the actual slip, we're just going to go with NBA. We're going to be making a 6 flex, and I have some tabs over here to go over to kind of get into the research. And the first pick is going to be Cunningham on the under 7.5 assists. And of course, we're going to be pairing with this with someone. If you guys have been watching the channel, I always like to do stacks. So we're going to be pairing this with Bojan on the under 20.5 points. And this is like starting to be one of my favorite stacks. They've only started been playing together recently because Bojan didn't play like half the season or pretty much all the season. He just came back for the past 7 games. But Cunningham, I do think the 7.5 line is a bit too high for a couple of reasons. One, you could already see that there's juice towards his under. So a couple sportsbooks have him juice towards that under. Actually, all of them do. So minus 127 on the under. And he's normally set at like 6.5 or 7. So 7.5 I do think is a bit too high. He's only cleared this 2 times with Bojan. I have the settings with Bojan only because that's the pairing we're going for. So he went over in the first 2 games that he came back. And then he went over 6.5 here. And I want to show you with Bojan, it's pretty much an identical graph except this Milwaukee game. So what I mean by that is that Bojan went over this 20.5 points, but Cade didn't actually go over his 6.5 prop there. But every other game, so 6 out of 7 times, they went in the same direction. You can see Cleveland and Memphis, they both went green. They both went green here. And here, Cade was actually set at 6.5, so technically this should be green. So in this Philly game, he did hit at 7, and so did Bojan. So that's 6 out of 7 games. They went in the exact same direction. And the reason we're grabbing the unders, again, is because Cade does have juice towards that under. And Bojan is pretty much 50-50 split. Some books have him over, some books have him under. But it's pretty much 50-50 on that under. And of course, if we're going under on Cade, we want to be going under on Bojan. On top of that, there is this massive spread, minus 12. We all know the Pistons, they're pretty much at the bottom there with the Hornets and the Spurs. They're going to get blown out, most likely. When it's minus 12, minus 10 and up, it's good blowout potential. And of course, when there's blowout potential, people get benched and unders are more likely to hit. So that's going to be the first 2 picks. And we're going to get into another stack right away. And this one is going to be on VanVleet and Jabari Smith. So VanVleet, I think his line is set a bit too high at 8. At 7.5, I would probably take the over. But at 8, I do like it on the under. We're going to get into him right away. So VanVleet, 7.5 assists. Again, this is sorted with Jabari Smith. So 50% of the time, he does go over that line. See, at one point, he pushed this 8. But for the same reasoning that I took Cade with Bojan, I'm going to be taking Jabari with VanVleet. And you could see, look at these graphs. They're pretty much identical. The only difference is this first game versus Memphis. Jabari went over while VanVleet went under. And versus Milwaukee, just most recently here, Jabari went over while VanVleet went under. Every other game in the middle here, they have hit together. So 8 out of 10 times, they have both went in the same direction. And I've actually checked the whole season. 15 out of 22 times, they went in the same direction. So looking pretty good. I did check the spread. It's not really a blowout game, so I do like unders when there's blowouts. But also, if I'm not looking at blowouts, I'm looking at pacing. I mean, look at this total, 215. It's very low. They're not going to be expecting a lot of points here. So I do like the fact that we're grabbing unders. On top of that, VanVleet is set too high. He is set at 7.5 on the sports books. Yes, there's juice, minus 140 towards the over. But I think 8 is a fair line. And of course, when we're grabbing the under, we're going to be grabbing under on Jabari Smith, who also has juice towards that under. Pretty consensus driven there that his under is more likely to hit. So that is the reason we're going with Jabari Smith as a pairing with VanVleet on the under 12.5 points right here. Next, we're going to end it off with one more stack, of course, and it's going to be on Patrick Williams. We're going to grab his under 10.5. This is a bit of a newer stack. I haven't really played it, but they are against the 76ers. And again, it is a very big blowout risk. Minus 10.5, as I just explained with Detroit Pistons game, is that when the spreads are this high, more likely to have blowouts. more likely to get their starters benched. And I did check the pairings. DeRozan, I'm absolutely loving at 6 assists. So his line is actually at 5.5 on the sports books. Let me just show you. So he only went over this 5.5, 40% of the games this season. And the reason I like it at 6 is it's even better. 29% of the time, he's at least pushing this, which basically means 71% of the time, you're at least pushing or winning. So you're only losing this 29% of the time. It's a great, great bet. There is juice on his over, of course, because he said at 6. But at 5.5, there's only a 49% likeness. He actually goes over that 5.5. We're getting him at 6. It's honestly a no-brainer pick to take. I'm loving this under 6. It's a bit too high. There is some juice you could see towards the over. Some people have him at only -125, -130. Caesars has him all the way at -142. But generally 6 is too high for this. And then again, look at this, 29% that this at least pushes, which means very, very good chance that we're not losing this prop at the very least. Now, the reason I'm going with Patrick Williams, of course, is because of this pairing. I'm showing the last 10 here, and I'll go on the last 10 on DeRozan here. And in the past 10 games, you could see it's pretty much identical. Same thing with Jabari and VanVleet in the Toronto game and in the Miami game. These guys did not hit together. So in the first and last, but in between, it's exactly the same chart. I mean, you guys could take screenshots, pause, whatever you want to do. Look at the green, look at the red, look how many times they're over this line, and look how many times they're not. And you'll see it's exactly the same 8 out of 10 times. And again, I checked the whole season. 18 out of 25 times these guys have hit in the same direction, which basically means 72% of the time, these guys have both cashed out green together. So if you guys come after this video tomorrow and you didn't put these picks in, but you come and watch, it's very likely that Pat Williams and DeMar DeRozan will be hit together or not hit together, right? So you're either going to see 2 reds or 2 greens. And that's basically how it is for every single stack here. These guys, my whole plan is either these guys hit together or don't hit together. So technically I'm making 3 picks for the price of 6. So I either go 3 and 3 or 0 and 3, 1 and 3, 2 and 3. So that is the picks for today. Let's lock these ones in.